What are the long-term goals of Kwebbelkop's AI companies, and is there an exit strategy in mind?
A strategy, our goal here is to automate the content production. We're very nicely heading there. If we're talking exit strategy, I would love an exit for a few. It's not something I've said publicly, but I would love to sell the company to Disney.
How did it feel like becoming so popular? You have 50 million subscribers overall.
Yeah, how did it feel? So I just did a bunch of investing. And then I started to quickly educate myself on how do I make this good? How do I make this bad? And one very big one was real estate. So I have a massive real estate portfolio. Made a few mistakes too with my real estate portfolio as per usual. Still made an insane amount of money. And it ranges from...
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new podcast. Today I'm going to go ahead and interview Kwebbelkop, also known as Jordi, and we're just going to ask some questions about his journey about YouTube automation, AI content creation, and where he is thinking where the future of AI is heading. Jordi, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Warner.
Yeah, no worries. It's always a pleasure of talking to you. Always interesting business. We've known each other, of course, for, 10 plus years now? Quite a long time. No, it's been very much amazing. I wanted to talk about AI and also the transition of content because, of course, here on the podcast, we talk a lot about faceless content creation, and you've been one of the most popular YouTubers in the entire world. So my first question to you is, how did it feel like becoming so popular? You have 50 million subscribers overall.
Yeah, how did it feel? Strange. I often forget myself and my girlfriend too until we leave the house or return back from our holiday. It's strange, I just really love doing what I do. I'm deeply passionate about it. The fame came as an extra. I'm at a point where I cannot leave the house and not get recognized. It's pretty intense. And I always think it's not going to get worse than this, right? And every year it gets worse and worse and worse. To the point now where, occasionally some weird people approach me too. So it's fairly intrusive occasionally, but I'm blessed that I can be in this position.
Yeah, I can imagine it. And it's also what they say, right? When you get famous, you're always going to experience some things that are not as nice, but overall the benefits normally outweigh the negatives, is what I would assume.
Yes, but also the more famous you get, the more you'll enjoy your privacy. Really started to see that now.
Yeah, that's always what they say is when you get famous, you want to get privacy. When you get rich, you want to get anonymity. And then it's like the whole time you want to get away from the thing you originally sort of tried to achieve. If that's like, hey, I want to become a popular YouTuber. Now you become a popular YouTuber. Now you're like, hey, I don't have a private life anymore. Like everything has to be shared. And then that changes. But that also is probably one of the reasons you actually started with another YouTube channel called Blue. How's that going? Like that's completely faceless. It's AI driven mostly. Like how much of that is now AI and how is that now doing?
Yeah, Blue's doing great. I always jokingly say Blue's one of the most successful faceless channels in the world.
Partially, yeah, I guess so. You of course have big channels like Internet Anarchist and some other huge ones, but I would say it's definitely in the top. Like I know from numbers, of course, that I can also see. I'm not going to say the exact number, but it does over 50K a month. Not every faceless YouTube channel does over 50K a month, which has existed for so long as well. I think that's very important to add in because, of course, you have those Donald Trump channels. You have the pimple popping channels that I used to run as well, where, yeah, make way more than 50 grand or even 100 grand in a month, but they don't exist for very long. But yours channel has now existed for how many years does Blue now already exist?
Blue's 4 years, I believe, 2021, if I'm correct.
Wow.
Almost 1 billion views. And I mean, in my eyes, we're still very young. So I can talk some more about the Blue system and the operation.
Yeah, please go ahead and do. I think a lot of people would be interested in that.
Yeah, so in its core, Blue is just a Kwebbelkop copy. So it's a gaming YouTuber, gaming Let's Play YouTuber. However, the beauty of Blue is that it's faceless, or the brand, the IP is a cartoon that doesn't just go away. And the majority of the production is done by humans.
Okay.
But at every stage, we're always testing, can we delegate this to AI? We've added some, in my eyes, pretty exciting AI automations in there. But for a lot of people, it's really boring. But the obvious ones, people go, oh, script writing, yeah, that's AI. And thumbnails, yes, that's AI, right? Script writers, but we also motivate them and push them to use AI to write the script so it becomes better. And we have an AI that writes the script, but then a human adjusts it and still makes it better. We're not there fully yet where AI can do better scripts consistently than humans. The same thing goes for thumbnails, right? Elements of the thumbnails are AI, but we also generate AI thumbnails and then A/B test them. But it's it's still, people assume everything is AI or nothing's AI, but in reality right now it's just consistently back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth at that strange point. The videos are not generated by AI. We do use some AI in the videos. Same goes for the audio, but once again, some parts are, some parts aren't. But the really exciting part, and this is what we've been focusing on lately, is we have AI consultants. We're going through the production process. Throughout the production process, we have quality assurance checkpoints which verify and validate the quality and provide feedback instantly so that we can make everything better and that we don't forget any of the protocols that we're following or the operating procedures that we're following. And then the same thing goes for when we publish the video. We also have an AI consultant which verifies and checks and provides feedback, which we then grab and adjust everything.
Yeah.
And that's really one of the most exciting ones, I would say, that we've added in recently. Because on one hand, doing production is a challenge. It's a challenge that a lot of people struggle with. But I know, for example, you, Warner, you're really good at getting a lot of videos out. That's really not the challenge. But what then becomes the challenge is the views that you get on these videos. And that's directly correlated to the quality of the content. So if you have an AI that really boosts the quality of the content and consistently improves it, then that's really what adds the most value. So that's what we've been focusing on recently and what we've added recently.
That's very interesting. So what you would say is pretty much that your content is still humanly generated, but most of the stuff that is helping the production is AI generated, if I said that correctly.
Yeah, pretty much. The general rule is if we can set up AI automation anywhere in the process and it helps make the video better, we will do it. And over time, that will become more and more and more. But we haven't really gotten to the point yet where we need to get rid of humans. So far, there's always a spot for a human to jump in and add more value.
Yeah, I think that's with a lot of stuff, because I also know a lot of other people that are very involved around AI, and you now have softwares, which is one of the reasons YouTube changed the rule with mass generated content. We have like those simple AI stories like revenge stories, Hoa Karen stories, where a majority of these channels are getting demonetized. You can get them back, but you have to prove to YouTube that there's a human process involved and that the content is not mass generated. And in this case, for you, that's not the case at all. It's not mass generated. You upload once a day, not 14 times a day. So that's a big change and difference. And also one thing I was curious to is you actually enabled, if I remember correctly, multi-language dubbing on YouTube itself. Is that still enabled? Are you still using that? Because I had pretty negative experiences with it. So I was curious like how you have experienced the multi-language dubbing tool on YouTube.
Yeah, so we don't have it enabled via the YouTube one. We do have multiple different audio tracks. We use 11 Labs for this. 11 Labs is simply the best state-of-the-art dubbing tool there is right now. I'd love to see someone else get close, but no one has really for the last year. Based on our test results, the average view duration is either the same or higher than the original language. Oh, wow. But yes, 9 out of the 10 voices that Blue speaks in are AI generated. Yeah. And we have a large audience in those demographics too.
Okay, interesting, because a majority of the channels that I run, and right now also for the quiz brands that I run that I sent you earlier as well, is we have separate channels for each of them, because we see that we get a better push from YouTube by having separate channels and really get a boost in that languages as well than having it overall as audio tracks. I'm familiar that MrBeast also uses audio tracks and not the automatic dubbing, because the automatic dubbing quality is, in my opinion, from YouTube very poor. I would say they have to do some sort of partnership with 11 Labs to get some good quality, or if they want to go cheaper. Actually, one that gets pretty close to the 11 Labs quality is Minimax, in my opinion, and it's 1/3 of the price of 11 Labs. I think that's a voice cloning at least. So maybe you can, I know it's not allowed by terms of service, but you can clone the 11 Labs voices into Minimax and then use it. But I know that's probably going to
they don't have a dubbing tool, do they? They just do the voice cloning. So there's a few other ones that are cheaper that if you want to save costs, that do very cheap voice cloning. But the issue is that the tech stack for dubbing is slightly more complex. Okay. And that's really the technology that we're looking to use. And then also talk about the audio tracks versus different channels. Yeah, on different channels, you get a separate push that works. But also on audio tracks, you can also get a specific push in a specific region. This has been a big contributor to the growth of Blue, where we've gone viral multiple times in Latin America, for example.
Interesting. And what is now the demographic then of Blue? Because I assume that the United States will probably still be a dominant one, but probably Spanish following after that, views-wise, I assume.
Spanish and Portuguese after that, and Spanish Portuguese speaking countries after that. So number one is still US, and then after that Spanish Portuguese, which unfortunately lowers the overall RPM of the channel, but it does increase the views, it does increase the subs. You don't actually lose anything by adding these dubs. Best practice is to dub everything, not just a few videos, since the audience keeps on coming back and obviously needs good views, and else it's going to mess up your AVD.
Yeah, that's also why I was curious about, like, I assume that probably languages like Hindu you have disabled, I guess. Hindu, Arabic, those languages are most like Arabic you do. Interesting. Arabic is actually one of our top performers as well.
In the Middle East, you have a big fan base. You know, it's very developed, fairly high CPMs too.
Well, for me, Arabic right now with a 6-minute AVD only has an RPM of about 60 cents. But it's also, we're in the middle of summer now, so there might be like $1 towards the end of the year, but it's not the best in my opinion. The best ones for me have been English, Spanish, then Portuguese has a too low RPM for a lot of faceless niches to be profitable in my opinion. And then after that we have Germany, and a surprisingly good performing one is Polish. Polish and Japanese are doing very well. Polish is a high recommendation. It has, for us, an average RPM of 4.5. So it's actually doing fantastic. The highest one that we have on the quiz brands is actually Dutch.
Dutch, yeah, we've Dutch too.
Yeah, Dutch has a $9 RPM for us on like a 6-minute AVD. It's absolutely insane. I don't know why, but Dutch is like the only channel that gets like demonetized like once every month. It's super annoying. Welcome to YouTube. Everything is duplicated these days if you don't use their tools. So, because of course for quiz stuff, you have to translate the text in the videos. So you can't use multiple audio tracks in order to maybe avoid that issue.
Yeah, they don't have video tracks.
That would be a very good add-on for the future, for sure, for like quiz channels. That would make the production over there a lot more profitable. So no, I find that very interesting. And I had a couple more questions actually written down. So first of all, Blue looks amazing. You're now doing 20 million views a month, up to 1 million views a day some days I see as well. That's insane.
This is a bad month for us, Vanner. I have to be humbled. This is a bad month.
I do see it's 14% down. That's what FitIQ at least says, but
we got to get this up by the end of the year. 30 million at least. I'm not sleeping. I'm not enjoying my Christmas unless it's at least 30 million.
Yeah, you got to pump out that Q4 revenue, of course.
100%.
100%. Same, our team is preparing as well. A lot of people know that in the past, I know it's a controversial thing to say, we used to work a lot with Russian people, and we still do, because I have hired them way before the war, way before the pandemic, so it's a little different for our side. But the good thing is that they actually don't celebrate Christmas, so they can actually work during the 24th, 25th of December and pump out more videos. So we're doing like 2 uploads a day at that moment as well, and like extra live streams. All about efficiency, which is amazing, because like in January, I take like off because the RPMs are like shit, so then I don't care anymore. But no, that's amazing for Blue that it's doing so well. One of the things that I'm also doing a lot more recently, and maybe also interesting for you to do, is compiling multiple videos and then making a separate thumbnail and using them as live streams, and then looping the videos until they're 11 hours, 54 minutes, and 59 seconds. Because if you do 55 minutes, it sometimes registers as a video longer than 12 hours, and it will not process as an upload. But you can actually upload videos twice or 3 times if you use live streaming, because it's seen as a different asset.
That's a good one. We've done movie compilations for a long time, and they were really profitable too for a very long time. And now I feel like it's kind of saturated, and we do them very rarely. But yeah, one of my most viewed Kwebbelkop videos is a movie, and most viewed also. But if it's a movie that's 2 hours, is also most earning video.
It's a movie that's 2 hours. Let me see. So one of the top performing videos you have is eight years ago. Which one do you think I'm looking at?
Slapping my face.
Yeah.
That one didn't have good AVD though, so the RPM was really bad.
Yeah, I can imagine, but still looks fun. And you said a movie, but if I'm looking, I see like 10, 20-minute videos.
Yeah, it's at around 10 million, 15 million, I believe.
10, 15 million movie. World's Hardest Impossible Challenge. Weak Links, Jelly, Slocum. Oh, I remember those diss track periods. Oh, that was fantastic. That's hilarious. Let me see. Reacting to the funniest animations on YouTube. No, I don't think I see it right now. I'm looking through the channel at this moment, and
I will go and find it for you. It's called 25 Best Ways to Steal Supercars in GTA 5 RP, 12 million views 4 years ago.
Yeah, 25 best ways to steal supercars, 2.5 hour long. Yeah, that must make insane amount of money, because it's like very long. People will probably watch the entire duration as well. Like a majority of it, probably over 1 hour AVD, I assume. or content like that.
Yes, let's just say very long AVD, really good RPM. Yeah, that was a nice one.
We also have some live streams now that have an RPM of like almost $20, which is like absolutely mind blowing. So I was just thinking, like, even for Blue, you could probably compile quite a bit of the videos because they all have the same sort of pattern where it's like 1 mile per hour, 999,999 miles per hour. And then also with the strong, you can probably combine a lot of those videos and run them as a live stream, and even like Christmas specials with live streams as well. I think that would do fantastic.
Definitely. However, I'm a big believer in focusing on one thing and saying just get really good on that. So for me, this would be seen as yet another spiel, yet another way to quickly gain traction. And then after a few months, it doesn't really do it much anymore. So for me, the real focus is on, looking at Blue and then figuring out how can we improve the Blue quality.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the real kicker here.
Of course, that makes sense. I was just curious how that, if there was maybe something for you as well. Same with like with the Polish language. I'm thinking if there's like any other ones that are very good.
Those are great.
Yeah, what other languages are doing very well? I can check in my channel stats, which are doing quite well. Are you doing Japanese?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, $3 RPM for me on that one. Germany, Portuguese, Arabic, Turkish, not much. Very bad audience in my opinion.
Really?
Turkish is not doing well for me at least. French, of course, always amazing. It's always in our core languages as well that we do. I know some people are now also doing Chinese actually, but I haven't looked into that yet.
That's an interesting one. Obviously, there's a lot of Chinese people, but specific region, it's an interesting one because with the dubbing, you're trying to reach a new audience, first of all. If you're doing English, there's English all over the world, right? But in France, they don't really watch English. Correct. They only watch French. And then you're also trying to figure out, are there a lot of people there? And then you're also trying to figure out, can I get a good RPM there? We've done the math on quite a few things, but Polish, not something that I've seen, fly past my desks. But we'll get it added, and then I'll report back to you.
Polish, we have 4 channels in Polish, and all 4 are very profitable. So it's actually one of our top performing. And then after that, it's actually Germany and then Japanese. Those are like the top performing for like the quiz brand channels that we do right now. So those are definitely very interesting. I was also interested in, because I know you're also a very big investor. So you transitioned from your traditional YouTube life into starting to do more stuff with AI. You became an expert in AI, but during the time and during your period of where you were uploading every day for, if I remember correctly, 1,000 days straight, something like that.
Or way more.
How much was it?
3,000 days. Yeah.
Fucking hell, that's insane. 3,000 days straight of uploads. Like, and you also started accumulating a lot of real estate. How was the journey going from a YouTuber into more building generational wealth and building up these big companies, and also, of course, reinvesting into that? Can you tell a little bit about that story and that transition into being an investor? Yeah,
sure. So it starts off with, doing my YouTube and making a lot of money. This is, I'm doing everything on my own, and I'm making, like, I can be honest here, I'm, hundreds of thousands of profit every month. This is years ago, well, almost 10 years ago, what I'm talking about. So over time, I'm making a lot of money, and it accumulates on my bank account. And I started prioritizing and saying, well, what's the first thing I want? I want to buy a house, because then I don't ever have to worry about my home again. I had no idea, regarding investing. And over time, I started to learn, okay, well, if you have $1 million, there's not so much you can do with it besides spend it. And that's the worst thing you can do. But you can also get the money to work for you. And I started to really study this concept of, okay, you have money, you can get money to work for you, and then how does that work, right? So let's say you have $1 million. If you don't do anything with it, your $1 million gets 2 to 3% less valuable every year because of inflation. So in theory, if you hold it on your bank account, $30,000 you're just throwing away while also spending your $1 million. So it goes down way faster. And there's these bad things you do with money, and then that are costing you money, and there's good things you can do with your money that are making you money. The difference is that the people who are born rich with a rich family, who have this generational wealth, understand what the good things are, and they understand what the bad things are, but they don't teach you this, right? So I started really focusing on it. Do you want to go more in depth? Do you want me to?
Yeah, please go. Please do. We have all the time. We have an hour and 20 minutes left before I have to leave the studio, so go ahead. I have no rush.
Perfect. So you get this, $1 million, and the goal here really is, how can I turn this $1 million into as much money as possible within the next time frame? Let's say 10 years. A lot of people, they think next 6 months or next year, but they don't really start thinking next 10, 20, 30 years. At the end of the day, like, I don't care about being rich today. I care about being rich for the rest of my life and having kids and them being very well off. So I'm really trying to plan, let's say 30 years ahead. I'm 30 right now, so let's talk about me being 60. If I hold this $1 million on my bank account right now, and that's what I did at the start, and I would just spend it and, keep it there, it'd be gone in 30 years. But the good thing to do with this is to figure out, okay, well, what can I invest in that's going to make me more money? A really easy one is stocks, right? Big US stock companies. And I can be very specific on which stocks too, of course. But in general, let's say we do S&P 500 stocks, 8%, 7%, 10% a year, occasional years that go up 20%. So your $1 million now makes $100K a year. Now you have 1.1 million the next year that can make you 110,000 a year, et cetera, et cetera. So there's this exponential growth curve if you invest your money and you keep on compounding it. Very early on did I realize this, and I started doing a bunch of investments, and I didn't really know what made or what made an investment or what broke an investment. So I just did a bunch of investing. And then I started to quickly educate myself on how do I make this good? How do I make this bad? And one very big one was real estate. So I have a massive real estate portfolio. Super happy that I got in there. Made a few mistakes too with my real estate portfolio as per usual. Still made an insane amount of money. So over the time, now I manage a pretty large portfolio of investments. And it ranges from art to crypto to stocks to private equity. So think angel investments to real estate to Pokemon cards, but the Pokemon cards obviously is not that exciting. Whiskey also not really exciting.
That's more fun investments. You're probably familiar with the name Steve Voigt?
Nope.
Oh, really? He's the owner of Fruits Music, Stefan Vught.
Oh, yeah, Steph.
He also sold his music company. He was very smart with it as well, of course, with being on the gray line of Spotify, of course, with the music sounds, white noise sounds, getting as many plays as possible. Yeah, that's also very interesting, like how someone then can build generational wealth. But so a majority of that is investing. I asked this question actually earlier to you as well when I was traveling. I was doing a podcast with Richard, one of 10, who just recently interviewed Jelly, actually.
And me.
And you as well. I didn't even know.
I connected him with Jelly.
That I knew, but I didn't know that you guys also did an interview. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the right week before. Yeah.
Oh wow, small world. So I hang out with him. What is it, like week and a half ago in Marbella actually. I remember he was calling Jelly actually to ask him if he could come over so we could play paddle, but he was busy with something, so that was funny. But so when you talk about real estate, a majority of your real estate, or pretty much all of your real estate, is invested into the Netherlands. What do you think about the investment climate in the Netherlands, and of course also with their 2028 rules? That is a big conversation there. Maybe you can give the people a little bit of a background what's happening, and then how do you think about that? Because that's like one of the words for me to maybe move back to the Netherlands as an example.
Yeah, so the majority of my real estate portfolio is in the Netherlands. That's correct. Also because I live here, the laws are in favor of the person who owns, right? There are a few changes regarding how you pay taxes over your real estate. But in all honesty, if you're a real estate investor, this just becomes yet another adjustment in your calculations. And often what happens is the market will adjust to favor those who learn how to play with these new rules. It's like the YouTube algorithm changes, and maybe this doesn't become profitable, but that does become profitable. And a few things that it does that are really well is it forces investors to do renovations on the properties. That's a big a change that is happening recently. So you need to have a good label, like energy label. I don't know what you call it, efficiency label. Recently, I had to renovate pretty much all of my properties. That's a good thing for the climate. It's also something that pretty much you can only do if you have the capital for it. It's a good thing that the Dutch have investors for it. What recently has been happening though, and I always say don't hate the player, hate the game, is the investors, like I'm self-made, right? And I rolled into this real estate and learned this whole real estate game all myself. But what happens is you start learning it and you start understanding, hey, this is where it's heading, and now I get it. And then all of a sudden the Dutch government adjusts rules and changes rules and regulations. And it's strange because they often do this to try and help everyone out, specifically the rental market, right? Because the rent's really high. It's like one of the highest, it's one of the most overpriced rental places in the entire world. So they think, hey, if we adjust this, it's going to fix this rental property. But in reality, what they do is they make it either, they screw over the investors. And obviously, like in a semi-regulated market, you don't want to screw over the investors because their investors are going to pull out or they're going to change things up.
Yeah, or move
So
the
now
money.
all of a sudden you screw over the investors, and what happens is the investors dip, all the properties get bought up, the rental prices shoot up. Where the government thinks, hey, we're helping you out,
Yeah, they're
they
not.
are actually screwing you over, and they're screwing the investors over who are just playing the game. So it's strange, it's interesting. My goal is, grow my real estate portfolio, keep on playing the game. But it's the times that at some point they were pretty not stable, and now it's become much more stable. They're increasing some tax laws and tax rules. Yeah, it's fine. Like I love talking about real estate. We just discussed. I have a real estate company, right? So the goal is there to just make the properties nice, give people homes, make sure that they can rent, things like that. Occasionally, I'll renovate some stuff that was never a home and make a new home there. So slowly but surely, I'm not a big player, but I'm in my eyes, yeah, it's really fun. Do you have more real estate questions?
Yeah, for real estate, not necessarily a lot. I was just curious, like how you built it up. So you made money with Kwebbelkop, of course. You did everything yourself, so your profit margins were insane, and then you transitioned that money into first your personal home, and then into like a lot of rental properties, and then you started cleaning that up in order to get a better return on investment, but also uphold with the regulations of the Dutch government, if that's correct.
Correct. And then took out minimal debt because you can play around with debt too, right? So you don't have to buy $1 million property fully yourself. You can also finance half of it. The rule I'd give to you is never finance more than 50%. That's the lesson I can give you. Yeah. So took out some loans, secured good interest rates.
Yeah, you told me you had one with like 1% or something.
Yeah, I'm with like 1.4 and 1.9, so I'm like really good. But yeah, and then renovating, increasing your margins, right?
Yeah.
Getting rid of excess bills, and then I just have a bunch of spreadsheets that plan it out over the next few years, and that's it. Like once you get the hang of it, it's pretty good, and then it just becomes a risk reward type of game. Like how much money do you want to take out? How much money do you want to borrow? Right now, the climate's pretty okay, but I'm not looking to take on more risk. So I'm just chilling, paying off my loans, fixing up some properties, preparing for some bigger renovations in the future. I just finished some really big renovations too. So, just enjoying it.
That's amazing. Yeah, for me, that's a big inspiration. So now I have, in 4 weeks' time, I'm gonna get the keys next week. But in about 4 or 5 weeks' time, I have my biggest villa in Bali finished, and then I have one more big villa coming. And after that, one of the debates that I had was moving back to the Netherlands in either 2026 or in 2027. It's also a debate that I put it open for the people to read on Twitter. Actually, a lot of very cool feedback there. To be honest, for me, the thing is like my heart says like I want to go back to the Netherlands, but at the same time, I'm like the reward that I get for staying one more year in Dubai and getting all that net cash, because this year, I can't talk too much about it, but I'm doing an acquisition of a company and I'm doing some further investments as well, is that I'll probably end this year with a negative cash balance, which means that I'm not able to enjoy the Dubai climate as much because, well, if I had a negative cash balance in the Netherlands, I wouldn't pay any tax either. Tax on my salary, but that's like 20, 30K, whatever. And then doing one more year of Dubai and reaping the rewards, let's say I make $1 million in profit for both of my companies or 3 of my companies, then I can use that money and then bring that back home in the Netherlands, in this case tax-free, because everything has already been paid, and then that of course can start compounding, and like you said as well, like do 50% down on a house and get a 50% mortgage. And that was also my question. You said like one of the lessons I can give you is 50% mortgage, don't take out more than that. Why is that actually?
Yeah, so there's an interest rate table that you can look up, but you pay the least amount of interest if you borrow 50%, no more than 50%. So 40% is fine too.
Yeah.
If you borrow 55% or 51%, your interest rate ticks up 1 point. Tick.
Really?
Not exactly one, but it
Yeah.
ticks up a few percent, like a fraction of a percent. But if you borrow 55%, it goes up even more.
Yeah.
60% goes up even more. 65% goes up even
That
more. So
doesn't
every
more
5%.
risk. Yeah.
So at 50%, you're at the lowest. That's
Yeah.
the first thing. So you get the least amount of costs that you pay on your mortgage. And obviously you need to pay your interest, but you also need to pay off your mortgage.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have all these other bills. This is what people forget when they're talking real estate and owning real estate. They forget that there's so many more bills that you have to go and check out. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you're obviously balancing risk. You're taking out a loan, right? So you need to go and pay back this loan. This is not, you don't just have this money. This money is borrowed. It's not yours. You need to pay it back. And if you don't pay it back, they're going to come and get you. So if you take out way more, and then the risk goes up. If you take out a little, the risk is much lower.
Of course.
And so 50% is pretty much the maximum that you want to do for various reasons.
Very interesting. And then one of more of the questions I had is about diversification. A lot of people always talk about that. So how much would you say you've done like angel investing? How much is like YouTube? How much is like real estate? How does that look for you right now? That ratio of investments?
I'm overexposed in the real estate side, or a better would say I'm underexposed in the stocks
Okay.
side. So my goal over the last year has really been improving my share of stocks, and I can explain why too.
Oh, please do.
There's levels of wealth. The first thing is when you're excited that you can buy something new, right?
Yeah.
This is back in, like, let's say you can afford a PlayStation, and I remember vividly the days that I could buy a new monitor and I was super excited, right?
Yeah.
So this is step one of wealth, and then slowly but surely it goes up. So you can buy more and more and more, and then eventually you'll have all the essentials that you need.
Yeah.
Maybe we're talking kitchen utensils, television, computer, those things.
Yeah.
Then after that, we go up. Maybe you want to have a car, or let's say prioritize, let's say house.
Sure.
So purchasing a house. Eventually, you'll be able to purchase this house. Okay, and now you own all the things that you need. And when I say you own 99% of all things humans could ever own. Okay?
Yeah.
If you have a house worth $1 million, you own 99%.
Yeah.
Like the 1% is ridiculous. It's private jets, yachts, and crazy expensive cars and villas.
Yeah.
It's just those things that you cannot buy unless you, besides like having $1 million, you can buy 99%. So you'll get to that point. After that, the next level of wealth, where you start thinking, okay, I have my net worth. All of a sudden, it's not about having a house or cars or items. Now it's about the accumulation of everything and the growth of this. So let's say you're at 1 million or 10 million, let's say 10 million, right? And now all of a sudden it becomes about growing your net worth. So you'll just think in percentages. How much percent can I grow this year? Yeah. And this is, like you say, my goal is a net worth goal. And this is really what I'm talking about, right? So my goal's different, and we'll get there. Sure. But my goal for a long time was too, like, I want to get to 8 figures. I have a net worth goal. And what do? You're running your business, you're saving up money, you're reinvesting this money. It goes million, bam, 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 bam. It's growing. Eventually you get to the 10 million point. If you have a net worth that's 10 million and you're reinvesting a small chunk of it or a big chunk of it, let's say 4% or more, if you're aggressive, you do 7%, 8%, you're now making 6, 7, 800,000 US dollars or euros a year. This is more money than most people could spend. Like, you can blow that much money, sure, but it's like an extremely luxurious lifestyle.
Yeah, I agree.
So you'll get to this point where growing your net worth is the key. And then once you're at 50 million, you're like, okay, how much can I grow to now? And 20 million, etc. So at some point you will reach a tipping point, and a tipping point where on paper and by your historic average, your net worth is growing and compounding.
Yeah.
Right? You've organized your finances in a way where it's just gonna go. Like all that you care about is time. Okay, in 10 years time, I do the math, it has doubled and some more. So we're at 15 million, it'll be at 40 million. Maybe if you do it well, you'll be at 50 million. So now once you get that realization, the luxury doesn't become growing of your net worth, because that's inevitable.
Yeah.
It becomes liquidity. How much cash do you have? How much cash flow do you have? How quickly can you get cash on your bank account when you need it? Right. So for me, my main focus has been buying more stocks, because it provides me much more liquidity than real estate. It gives me stress if I get a big tax bill that I have to pay.
Yeah.
And think like it's going to be hard to get this money out of my investments, because all my money is always in investments, out of my investments to then pay the bill. Ideally, I just go, hey, the money's tax bill comes in. I have a projection of my liquidity.
Yeah.
I know it comes in that day, and the next day I pay, because I've already moved some cash around very quickly. When you're focused on the liquidity, that becomes after the net worth growth. And at one point in time, the end game is to have so much liquidity that you cannot spend it fast enough. But then again,
that already happens after you make like 10 million. So what I always say, like, there's 3 ways of cash flow. I say 0 to 10K is the hardest, because you're starting from scratch and you have to build or learn something new out of thin air. But you, of course, need something that is scalable. Of course, you can become a plumber or some special skill and you can make over 10K a month, but you will not become free because it's bound to your time, unless you, of course, start some sort of corporation in it. So let's take faceless YouTube in this case, because that's normally what the podcast is about. But I love talking about wealth growth because that's also one of my personal biggest interests. So 0 to 10K is nothing but hard work, getting something to hit. That could even be e-commerce or Amazon dropshipping or whatever you want to call it, or faceless YouTube automation. You go to 10K. At 10K, you can pretty much live a very good life everywhere in the world. Even in Switzerland, 10K a month brings you an amazing piece of life. Then I say you go to 30K. And at 30K is when you can fly business class. You don't have to wait in all the lines anymore. You get some sort of, what I would say, a luxury lifestyle. You have to not really consider about anything. If you go 3 times a year, you can always fly business class. Of course, if you travel more, then maybe not. It's going to cut into your margins. But
30K after taxes?
30K, I would say after taxes, yeah. Or like even before taxes, you could still do it. Like 30K taxes, let's say take the Netherlands, 19%, or let's make it for the simplicity of the calculation a little bit, make it 20%. So that would be 24K. And then, of course, technically speaking, you have to pay dividend tax on that as well. So you're going to get to 20K. Even with 20K left over in your personal account, you can fly business class to Dubai, go for a week holiday or wherever you want to go, Greece, Spain, Marbella. You can go anywhere in a reasonable luxury. But if you talk before, like if that's after tax 30K, you can do pretty much anything you want. After 30K, I don't think your life changes that much anymore, until you go to like 100K, where it's like now you can do the absurd things. You can rent a private jet once if you want. You can buy things that make everything so much more simple. You can have extra staff that just helps you in your personal life that you don't necessarily need, but it's just nice to have. It's nice to have a cleaning lady. It's nice to have someone who does everything for you. It's nice to have a personal chef, as an example. That's one of the things that I normally have in Bali. Like I don't necessarily need it. I can order food, but a private chef gives me much better food and much more calculated food. So I eat better and I feel better.
There's levels to it, right? Often it's not that simple, because a private chef also comes with headache occasionally. So a lot of people, they wish to have a lot of staff and then realize they have to manage the staff.
Yeah.
But then you can hire a head of staff that deals with this too, right? So those are the levels. But then you sacrifice a sense of privacy in your home.
True.
So, this is why these really, really, really rich people have homes so big that you don't see the staff. You just keep on going. and it never ends. Another thing that that a lot of people forget is you're talking YouTube automation and making 30 to 100K. There's not many people who make more than 100K consistently profit a month for more than 5 years.
Oh, that's true. That would even include me. So I also had it go down. I managed to do it for 3.5 years straight. And then in May 2024, I dropped from about 180 to minus 40,000 because everything got removed from me. And then I had to rebuild, and it took me 7 or 8 months to get back to about over 100K a month in profit. So that took a long time.
So there's different types of wealth accumulation.
Yeah.
And one of them is a business, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But this is why you want to have a diverse portfolio. If your business is weakening, that's going to lower your profits. And if you have set expenses, it's going to crush you and change your lifestyle, and a lot of change are going to happen. So this is why you want to diversify. Real estate's historically very safe. Stocks are historically really safe too. Gold, historically very safe too. So, definitely during this journey to get to whatever your goal is, think safety, diversification. You can also not do that. Some people are very successful with that, but then you do have to deal with those risks. And then it becomes risk reward management, right?
Yeah, of course. And that makes a lot of sense. And that's also one thing that I was very happy about, is that I saved a lot of crypto. I saved a lot of metals. Silver has almost doubled in the last couple of years, which was one of the best investments that I had. Had another investment double. Of course, Bitcoin has more than doubled in the last 2-3 years. So a lot of investments there compounded. Ethereum went up like 50% like 2 months ago. So that was a good investment. That made quite a bit of money. And then, of course, like that also accumulates, in this case, to your net worth. That then helps you, of course, be more safe. And that's also the reason that I felt also safe. I felt stressed because it was the first time after, like, I was 18. But before that, I was doing all the copyright stuff, all the stuff that was like a gray area. And so I knew that one day that would disappear. But this one seemed so evergreen that I wasn't thinking, hey, this would actually expire one day. So it was a shock. And then after that shock, I just worked so hard for so many months until I burned myself out pretty much. And then I was like, okay, now I'm at least back on my level. Now I can take a step back and rest. And now I see like, hey, what I'm actually doing is very toxic. There's no momentum in this. And that's also one of the reasons why I have this such a big contemplation in regards to moving back to the Netherlands, because I'm closer to family, I'm closer to friends. I have also other people I can talk to. I can talk to you, I can talk to one of my competitors, but it's also a good friend of mine. I can talk to a lot of people and be at a lot of places. And that would give me some sort of sense of peace. But at the same time, I'm like, here I can build and accumulate way faster because I don't have that burden of all the tax. Like a two-battle sword, pretty much, where I'm like, don't know what I want to do.
You got to figure it out. And I made the same decision, right, some time ago. I said, I'm so much more productive in the Netherlands. I'm so much happier. I'll pay taxes. Yeah, hell yeah. I'll support the country. Yeah, I'll contribute my share. If that means that I can stay here every day and be happy, I don't mind.
Yeah, that's also pretty much the same mindset that I have. It's just that this year I've done so many investments that I kind of want to reap the benefits of Dubai, and there's a few more tax savings that I can do that will definitely accumulate to a couple €100,000, where I'm like, maybe worth it to do it here. As an example, one of the things I looked in for the fun was a Porsche GT3. If I buy it here in Dubai, and if you've lived outside of the Netherlands for more than 6 months, or you own the car more privately than 6 months, and you've lived outside of the country, I think for a year or 3 years, you're able to bring that car back VAT free. In this case, the Netherlands is one of the only countries BPM free, which means that it saves me, let's say, about €126,000 to buy that car here and then bring it into the Netherlands. And that's one car. And you're actually allowed to do this on a limited amount of cars. So you can actually make a lot of money doing this.
If you treat it as a business. Or you can say, let's not spend money on stupid stuff. Let's build generational wealth.
True.
Let's just put it in stocks, maybe some more risky stocks or some more risky crypto investments.
Yeah.
And don't think about it. Focus on the one thing you're good at. You just said you burned yourself out. And now you're talking about importing cars to get potentially a slightly higher margin than the market average. Who cares? Just
good point.
Toss it in an investment account that buys stocks and forget about it.
Good point. Good point. It's definitely something I'm gonna take with me as well. It's so funny because now I hear you say it, it actually sounds kind of stupid. So that's definitely a good point
Real
that I think.
luxury is not having any stress, not having a headache,
Yeah.
waking up feeling no pressure on your chest, at night, not thinking about stuff,
Yeah.
being with your loved ones,
Yeah.
sleeping in a nice bed, eating healthy, occasionally enjoying a party or the nice weather or the water or exercising. That's real luxury. And
I
a
agree.
lot of people forget about it. They're just thinking materialistic or I need
Yeah.
to gain work, 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 work. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, that really doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, it's pointless. It's
True.
pointless.
True, and it's like, well, what is the future of the game that you want to play? No, very, very well said. I appreciate that as well. Like, I'm always open on these podcasts. I always try and be as honest as possible. But that's like just some stuff that was on my mind as well. So yeah, thank you so much for your advice as well. I appreciate that. Perfect. Then I'm gonna go to the next question that I had written here, and that's also, how do you currently use your personal brand into generating revenue outside of YouTube?
Yeah, pretty simple. One of one of the most. I think earlier before we had the started the podcast, you asked which percentage goes to what for the Kwebbelkop brand. 95% now comes from speaking opportunities for the Kwebbelkop brand. My next some upcoming speaking opportunities. I'm going to Saudi Arabia end of October. Then
Okay.
end of November, I have 3 speaking opportunities in the Netherlands. Then early next year, I have another speaking opportunity in Saudi Arabia, most likely. Last year I was there too, or this year I was there too. I had 4 speaking opportunities in one trip in Saudi Arabia. So at the same time, I was invited to come to Dubai for a speaking opportunity, so I couldn't make it. Pretty packed. It's just speaking. I'm a good speaker. I love speaking. That's really what the Kwebbelkop brand does. This is something I could do for the rest of my life. And obviously, I think we all know it's a non-negotiable. When GTA 6 comes out, it's comeback season. It's comeback season. Retirement was fun, but it's time to show the kids how it's really done.
Yeah.
And the scary part is I've not like it's not like I've outlearned how to YouTube. I've been running Blue for years. So
Still
this
very
is going to
active.
be one hell of a comeback. I'm really excited for that. But until then, I'll just keep on doing the speaking ops.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then, of course, when GTA 6 comes around, maybe the whole squad can return, can make some good videos.
Both me and Jilly are down. This is more of a slow go thing.
Yeah.
But we'd love to record with him, and I'm gonna keep on saying it. Yeah.
No, that will be fantastic. The good old times where just, I always say like also like the good old times for me is like just playing League of Legends and making videos in the background. That was like one of my best times in my life. It's like very simple. I'm working behind my computer at home. And like you said, surrounded by family and surrounded by friends. That's at the end of the day all that matters. Besides, of course, yeah, materialistic stuff is fun to have, but it's not everything in life. And waking up in a nice bed, of course, is a lot better. And speaking gigs, that's insane. But I remember also, we were just talking about cars. Did you end up buying that Mercedes car that you wanted for like the speaking gigs to be driven around, or did you go ahead and do that? Because I remember talking about that when we were in Amsterdam.
It's an S-Class executive with really nice seats in the back. For speaking opportunities or long drives, it's really comfortable. I just get a driver,
Yeah.
chill in the back or in the front, and then I can just do my work and be comfortable.
It's very funny because I saw a Dutch real estate guy in Dubai, and he also bought an S500, and I was like, that just looks so nice. Like, if you have to go from place to place, or even with you, with all the properties that you have, if you just have a driver around that can just chauffeur you around, and you can work 30 minutes one way, 30 minutes back, that's 60 minutes of work you can get done because now you have that car. So then it makes a lot of sense.
That's for 30-minute drive. For a 30-minute drive, I'll probably take the bike. It's probably inside of Amsterdam. But yeah, occasionally I have a speaking opportunity that's like 2-hour drive away in traffic. So yeah, then get a driver, deduct it as an expense, chill, play some games, work, whatever.
Amazing. Okay, so that's also very cool. I was curious how that went because we just talked about cars. That was just a random question that came up to me. Also, a very interesting question. What are the biggest business failures that you had and lessons that you learned from the past?
Yeah, great one. Really fun challenges. So the first one was not failing fast enough. I think that's an important one, specifically with like the Blue VTuber. We started incubating some new channels, and then we had some issues with people, and then eventually we learned from that, and then we made Blue, right? So you're trying to fill as quickly as possible. A more specific one, getting the office. I think the office was a bad move. I've had an office for 5 years. These were also my most stressed 5 years ever. And I wouldn't say my most profitable 5 years ever. Fun experience, but highly stressful, and definitely stagnated some of the growth within the company.
Yeah.
So I would say that was a big one. Another big one is a lesson: don't sign long contracts that
Okay.
you have to where it says that you have to pay bills. Don't sign them. Like there's no point in signing them. Pretty much everyone will agree to monthly. There's too many times where I signed a contract where it looked like a good idea, and then 8 months down the line, I'm like, I need to get rid of this, but I can't. I have 4 more to go. And occasionally, one guy convinced me that a 3-year contract was good. It's not a big amount of money. But now I'm stuck with this contract for another 6 months, and I can't do anything. It's literally pointless.
Yeah.
I had an employee who signed a yearly contract without my consent, which cost us $10,000. And if you would have asked me, it was a service that we would have used for a month. So for 11 months, it was completely pointless.
But how can they sign without consent? Or did the person have permission to sign on your behalf?
He just used it. No, he didn't have it, but he used a credit card, and then obviously it's nearly impossible to get out of it once the money's already been paid. And so that was a tough one. And that transitions me to the next thing. As a CEO of a company, there's a few things that you always want to be responsible for. I'm still learning, and I'm still trying to understand a few of these things.
Yeah.
But a few that I really understand now is, first of all, you want to be the master of finance, the chief financial officer. You want to be the end master. You're the one mainly responsible. One big mistake was that I didn't have a good liquidity forecast. I didn't have every single expense properly written out and extrapolated over the next time frame. I didn't project when revenue would come in and when expenses would be paid. So I didn't have a clear understanding of how my finances were evolving. Now I do, and I see the massive difference. Massive advice here would be, over the next 2 years, for every month, you want to have exactly how much you're expected to make and expected to lose, and why, and have it be rooted in facts.
Yeah.
So I lost a lot of money there because I would have bills that I didn't know were there.
Yeah.
So at one point, I just called up my bank and I said, cancel all credit cards. And I'm just like, cancel, 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 cancel. And then I just opened up a new one and I said, let's wait until I get an angry message from someone on Discord saying, my account stopped working. And every time someone would message, my account stopped working, I knew, hey, they're using that. I'm like,
Yeah.
no problem. Here's the new credit card.
Yeah.
And I just did that. And like 95% of things were just never responded to. It was just someone who monthly subscription forgot to cancel it, or an employee who used it and then left and never reported it back to finance. So we cleared that all up. So that was a really fun one to save a ridiculous amount of expenses in the company. And we noticed that, everything is still moving and everything is still going great, but by removing all the bloat is what you call it.
Yeah.
So that's a massive, massive tip and advice. Another one is, as the CEO of the company, you are the vision holder. At first, I always thought that meant you had to inspire, and tell people this is where we're heading. Our goal is to get the most amount of views, the highest AVD. Okay, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
But not just that, is because now you're pointing everyone into the right direction. That's good. But as the CEO, and this is another mistake that I made, also delegated quality assurance or quality control. Quality control is the single most important thing you can do as a CEO, because there you directly shape the vision of the company. My vision is to have, a bunch of virtual influencers be super successful, like hyper successful. That's a vision. I can explain it to everyone working in the company, but I can show them what this looks like by giving them feedback on the videos, getting a blue video and dissecting the blue video and saying, for us to reach this vision, this and this and this and that needs to be excellent. So that was another really important lesson. And then the third lesson, and then I'll stop it with these business lessons, is hire excellent people. Don't hire okay people. Don't hire bad people. Hire excellent people. And you'll know an excellent person when you see them. A bad person is a person who comes into the company, you put energy into, and they don't improve. They're dragging you down.
Yeah.
The ones you provide feedback and they'll get mad at you and say, you can't talk to me like this. That's that person who drags you down. Get rid of those people as quickly as possible. Cannot get rid of them as quickly as possible because they have a long-term contract. You made a mistake.
Yeah.
You should have not signed those long-term contracts. Get rid of those people ASAP. Then you have the okay people. And the okay people with a lot of training can sometimes become great people.
Yeah.
However, it takes time. And you need to ask yourself, do we have the resources and are we in a position where we can train this person up to be a great person? Sometimes you train them up and they say, hey, now I know how to do everything myself. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to the competition. Those are also risks.
Yeah, you don't want that. And that's why non-competitor clauses are so important. And in those I make ridiculously long because that's in my best interest. So that's an interesting one.
And then you have the really good people. And the really good people are the ones you get on a call with, you work with for some time and you go, hold up. I don't actually have to go and tell you what to do. You're doing it yourself. And that's where leadership becomes really important too. You have proactive people. You have people you share the vision with. You ask people the question, how are you going to do it, rather than you need to go and do this. And that's pretty much how I run my company now, and it's gone better than ever, in all honesty. And those are the biggest lessons I learned.
And then I'm gonna point to one of the questions that you answered, one of the business tips that you gave, which we were talking about just before we press record, pretty much. And that is like, why did you get rid of your office? What was the point with that? Because you're also in a familiar position that I am, and apparently you even thought about me of that situation as well. So please tell a little bit about that, and I'll tell my side of the story as well.
Yeah. So first of all, an office is expensive. Our office costs about $10,000 a month, and this is, you pay it every month. You have long-term contracts, so it's risky too. That is one big reason why you don't want to have an office. Second of all, it complicates things, and often there's a sense of efficiency, but it's not really efficiency. Like, being at the office feels efficient and it feels like you're doing work, but are you really doing work? Is a question that you should ask yourself. And then third of all, it forces you to have local talent, and it makes you choose local talent over worldwide talent. And in all honesty, the local markets are not that good here. We're competing on YouTube with everyone globally, and they're hiring globally. And almost no one is hiring for the local market. So you'll be at a massive disadvantage in multiple different avenues. Thus, it's a bad strategic decision to get an office unless you get so many benefits from it. But no, this after 5 years, there were not more benefits than negatives.
That's a very good point. For me, it had to do with 2 points. One of them was that with all respect to the people of Indonesia, that the average IQ in Indonesia is just very low. There are barely any proactive thinkers. At the peak, we had about 20 people in the office, and I would say out of the 20, only 4 were, well, let's say 2 were good, and 2 were exceptional. Which was Renata, our thumbnail person. She learned everything very quickly. And the other one is office manager, which is Booty. And he's a very proactive thinker, makes everything very visual. So also, like you said, like all the cost of all the credit cards and everything else. Like he always did that. Like, hey, this is how much you're spending on Slack. This is how much you're spending on this software. This is how much 11 Labs, Minimax, everything. Like every piece of AI, like this is the average cost per video, and then down to the cents. So, okay, hey, this is the average time that the video is. Let's say, for AI, it is about an hour. So this is how much we're spending on each hour of content that we generate. It was amazing. But overall, the reason that I started with the Bali office was because of the simplicity of the content when everything did well. And that's also where you get the danger point, what you said as well, is those contracts are fucking long. That's a 2-year contract that I signed that I still have to pay. And I'm removing like person after person because the quality is just not good enough compared to like the international talent, people I can get from Pakistan or from the Philippines, than it is to find someone locally that knows how to work in Bali with AI. They don't. And
So a few things that then become your focus. Now you need to get rigorous with hiring. Second
yeah,
of all, you need to get rid of those people, which is going to cost you money.
yeah,
So you need to really improve your hiring process, and then you also need to improve your training process.
yeah,
So now the complexity just grows a lot. Then again, doing remote, you'll have those challenges too. However, they
yeah.
might learn faster, or they might already have some of these skill sets.